Hi there, this is Sereno Sky again. It's been a while since I have read chapter 7 to you. I've been to a couple festivals and then just got back from the Azora festival. And now uh, three of my grandkids just arrived this morning to stay with me for a couple of weeks. That keeps me busy, but it's a lot of fun. But I have a little time in between now, and I wanted to read the next chapter to you, especially to those of you who have been following this and maybe waiting for what's going to happen next. So I hope you'll enjoy this, and I'll get right to chapter 8 now of this way, Lonely Traveler. For any of you who will be interested, there's part 2, which is a continuation actually of part 1, and is available in online bookstores around the world. But now this is free of charge, my reading to you here of chapter 8, Quo Vadis. We started spending as much of our free time together as we could. Anne was still working at the watch factory. Being able to meet for the weekends made our time at work more bearable. I had no phone at our hippie commune, but her parents had one, so sometimes I would call her. Her mom answered the phone one evening and said that Anne had been talking to her about me and that she would like to invite me over to get to know me. So a couple evenings later I went there, and Anne came with her mom to pick me up at the train station, and they drove me to their house. We had a very good conversation that night, and I realized that Anne's mom was actually a very understanding woman. I know Anne doesn't want to help to take over the family business. Her brother can do that. I just want Anne to be happy and find what she is looking for. It's nice to have parents supporting you in your search, I thought. Next time I met Anne, she was all excited about some news from her friend Jacqueline, who had just returned from traveling Europe for a while. Apparently, she had ended up on the island of La Gomera and had told Anne how beautiful it was there, and that quite a number of hippies were moving to a place called Valle Gran Rey, meaning Valley of the Great King. So we looked it up on a map and found out that this island was situated at the most southwestern tip of Europe. It is one of the Canary Islands out in the Atlantic Ocean, off the coast of North Africa. Jacqueline said she had taken a ferry from Cadiz to Las Palmas first, and then went on with some other ferries to Tenerife and finally on to La Gomera. Well, it sure seemed that someone had just put a bug into Anne's ear. She seemed to be really excited about it. She explained that she had met hippies there who were selling bracelets and self-made stuff to the tourists, and they were able to live from that. I could try that too, she said with sparkling eyes. It seemed like once she had gotten excited about something, nothing could stop her. I had never heard of hippies living on La Gomera. I had actually never heard much about the Canary Islands at all. It sure is far away from Europe, I said. I'd like to find out more about it. The Canary Islands, I started reading about them at the library and at travel agencies, but could find very little about La Gomera. It is part of a group of 7 islands off the coast of Africa, but belongs to Spain. Some of the other places there seem to be very touristic, but La Gomera hadn't been developed by the tourist industry. It had a beautiful rainforest, though, and the inhabitants were living off of fishing and agriculture. I speak Spanish. I've learned it quite well during my long stay on Formentera. Anne said. I speak some too, I told her and smiled. I just mix my French with my Italian. I had been good at languages at school. I had learned French from an early age, and English hadn't been a problem either. And later on, I also had joined a course in Italian. I visited Carlos at one of the hippie shops in town. He always seemed to know all kinds of things. And when people needed a ride somewhere, he would always let them put up little notes in his shop. He had been to places like Nepal, India, Morocco, and had always brought some things back that he would sell in his shop. Things like oriental lamps and all kinds of drapes and pipes and handmade jewelry. He was not just running a shop, he was sort of the hippie communication center in our area. He always knew which band would come to give a concert, and his entrance door was always full of advertisement of the hippie festivals taking place. Being quite an intellectual guy, he was always reading up on various hippie-related news, and if anybody in town would know anything about La Gomera, it would certainly be him. He was gay, and it seemed he was a bit after me. Since I personally wasn't inclined to be gay, I had to disappoint him once in his attempts, but I still kept going to his shop sometimes. To me, his ideology, kindness, and tolerance were more important than his gender preferences. That's how I generally kept it with guys that were after me. There were actually quite a few. I always got along fine with them without getting sexually involved. Carlos, have you heard anything about La Gomera lately? I heard it's a new hippie hangout. He looked at me, sort of like, where do you know that from? He was usually always the first one who would know things like that. You heard it right, Bernardo. Valle Gran Rey on La Gomera was first discovered by some American and Canadian hippies, but in the meantime, hippies from all over Europe have been streaming there, mainly a lot of hippies from Germany. I was not surprised he knew all about it. I guess I haven't been to Amsterdam for a while. I would have probably heard about it there. Thanks for the info. I'm trying to find out more about it, I told him. I had already mentioned to him before about my trip to Formentera. From what I know, it's another place somewhat similar to Formentera, a place where mass tourism hasn't put its imprints yet, he added. You need to go through the island of Tenerife if you want to get there. Tenerife is very touristic and lots of planes fly there from Europe. So that's how I found out more information about this place, La Gomera, and I told Anne. She was eager to go soon. I just don't want to stay here much longer. It's too busy around here. The first days after coming back from Formentera, I felt like I had landed in New York. Life is just so hectic here. I could relate to that, and that was one reason I had been preparing and setting money aside to leave again. It's true, Anne. It's difficult to concentrate and meditate and pray in such a busy world. Perhaps one day, when one is really used to it and has a really strong connection, it might be easier to live in the midst of a stressed out society. But I definitely want to get away and go somewhere I can strengthen the connections I have found, somewhere quiet. I'm going to find out as much as I can from Jacqueline about where to land, where to sleep, and where to eat, and so on. We hadn't been talking at all about going anywhere together, but perhaps we already felt that something was taking shape, as we kept talking about it quite often when meeting each other. Anne had started doing yoga and went regularly to a yoga teacher in her village. I want to learn different things, Bernardo. Perhaps one day I can make money with it. And doing yoga has really helped me to concentrate on something else than just my problems. I thought that it wouldn't be bad to learn some trade to make some money while enjoying it at the same time. I just hadn't noticed any big talent in my life so far. I had started playing the guitar and had learned some basic songs like Blowing in the Wind and Peace Train, some songs with simple chords. I could sing and had some experience from the band, but I just hadn't been into it enough to make a living from it. Yes, maybe one day you can live from making your bracelets or from becoming a yoga teacher, I told Anne. She was learning her yoga fast. Her body was very flexible too. Each time she would visit me at my place, she would show me some new position she had learned. I'm practicing daily, but I'm combining it with meditation. I get much more out of it that way, she said. I hadn't been much into yoga. I was more into meditation. I could learn a couple new positions from you as well, I suggested. I was glad she had found something that seemed to add to her spiritual well-being, and she seemed to be more challenged and hopeful since she had started doing yoga. My yoga teacher said that I make more progress than anyone she's known, and I was very happy to hear that. She was just amazing, as anything she put her heart into seemed to just flourish. It was a warm summer in every way. Meeting Anne regularly had brought fresh color into my life, and though we hadn't gotten romantic, it was a very special friendship that was growing each time we met. Anne had gotten to know everyone at the hippie commune where I was living, and my friends became her friends. We'd all go out on sunny weekends and spend the day somewhere by the lake, playing the guitar, reading and talking, and just having a relaxing time, as during the week we were both working. I had gotten to know Anne's friend Jacqueline as well. She had started setting money aside to travel to India with another friend. Anne would usually spend the weekend sleeping at my place, and we'd often talk way into the night about our thoughts and dreams. When the summer's over, I'd like to go, Bernardo, she said on one such occasion. I want the summer to go on, but since it doesn't continue here, I want to go where it does. I felt like that too. She turned around and looked straight into my eyes. Let's get out of here together, Bernardo. We can go to La Gomera. We already know a few things about that place. I want to go travel with you. I don't know anyone I'd like to go more than with you. Wow, that was almost half a declaration of love, I thought. I think I could create and sell jewelry there. I do already speak quite a bit of Spanish. I personally don't feel led to go to India, but most important, I want to go with you. I did have the thought going through my mind that it's more important who you travel with than where you travel. I would love to go with you, Anne. We've become such close friends. Bernardo, I'm sure we'll make it somehow. Maybe we can find a way to support ourselves there. I liked her hopeful and positive attitude, but added that perhaps we could take some time to meditate and pray and see if we get any spiritual hint about this trip. I guess I just wanted to make sure I was not going to lose any of the spiritual connection I had gained by going off somewhere I was not supposed to go. So the next day we went down to the lake for sunset, climbing up the cliff road to find ourselves a quiet place, and sat down together for meditation and prayer. We sat quietly, and both really wanting to hear some clues to whether we were going the right direction or not. I had still India in the back of my mind, but then again I felt that Anne was very excited about going to La Gomera ever since Jacqueline had told her about it. I would love to go traveling with her and being with her every day instead of only at the weekends. Then I tried to just shut out all these thoughts. Go where the doors are open for you. I could hear that still small voice again, and it was not only very comforting, I felt I could count on it, and that if I followed it, things would work out just fine. We must have sat there in silence for quite some time, because the sun had set in the meantime, and Anne said, "It's getting a bit cold." I looked at her and wondered if she had gotten anything out of this meditation time. I didn't hear anything in particular, Bernardo, but I just strongly feel that we should go where the doors are open. She looked a bit sad. "I just don't want to keep you from going to India if you feel in your heart that you need to go there." My heart was so touched that she really cared. "We're going together because I got the exact same thing you did, to go where the doors are open for us." Her eyes lit up after I said that, and she just turned around and gave me this big hug and was almost screaming for joy. I really liked these spontaneous outbreaks of her emotions. I don't think this is a coincidence that we both got the same thing, Anne. We do seem to have enough money to go to La Gomera, but for going to India we would need quite a bit more, which might take another few months of staying here. But it's time to go where the doors are open." Anne didn't say anything. She just smiled and put her head on my shoulder as we were walking back, and she had that peaceful expression on her face which made her look so extremely beautiful. The next week we started tying up loose ends. I needed to get my name off the contract and turn over my room to someone else, as I didn't want to keep paying rent, not knowing if and when I would return. We visited Anne's mom one more time. She was very open about it. I felt for a while that Anne needs to go again, and I'm happy to know that she's going with you, Bernardo. I feel like she's in good hands. My parents were a little bit more concerned. They would have preferred me getting back to some professional aspirations. But they did like meeting Anne, and she seemed to leave quite a good impression with them. I had reassured them that I was going to stay in touch and call once we would get there. I stopped by Carlos's shop a few times just to see if anyone would be driving down to Spain. And sure enough, a couple would be going down to Barcelona in about a week's time and would be able to take 2 people along, expecting a contribution towards the gasoline expenses. I called them up, and they were very happy to take us along. I had found out that flights to Tenerife were a lot cheaper from Barcelona than from Switzerland, and I told Anne about it. "See how everything is working out when we follow those inner voices." She was just thrilled. Anne spent the night at my place before leaving. We had a little goodbye party with my friends. The girl that was taking over my room and signing the rental contract was there too. Her name was Monica. She had bought my stereo and record collection, my guitar and bongos, and I left her my few pieces of furniture which I had bought at the flea market and some dishes in the kitchen. She was also going to care for my cat Alice. Robert had also offered to take care of my cat. She had gotten used to be in and out of his room as he had a cat as well. The 2 cats were actually brother and sister. We had gotten them together from the same farmer. They do say that cats get more attached to places instead of people, so I was hoping that this was true. It wasn't easy to leave Alice, as she had always been anxiously waiting for me to come back when I needed to go somewhere. Monica seemed very happy for us. I'd love to go travel like that too, but I feel like I would want to find the right person to go with first. That would make a big difference, she said. "I think it does, and I'm happy that I found such a lovely friend to go with," I replied while looking over to Anne, who was smiling. Robert was a bit sad that I left, but apparently he got along quite well with Monica, who was now moving in next to him, and the night before she had slept at his place. "I wish both of you the best for this adventure," he said with a bit of sadness. "My only comfort is that I'm getting a very pleasant replacement in the room next to mine." This time it was Monica who smiled. We promised to take good care of Alice. We agreed to stay in touch by mail. The next morning, the couple driving to Barcelona came to pick us up at 6 in the morning. We were glad we didn't need to hitchhike, as at the end of summer it can already get quite chilly at night. The sun was just rising when we drove off, with Anne and me sitting in the back and her face exuberating with excitement. She took my hand and whispered in my ear, "I'm so happy to go on this trip with you, Bernardo. I just know it's going to be wonderful." "I'm also glad to go with you, Anne. I'm leaving a whole hippie commune and my cat. But when it's time to go, one must follow that inner voice." We arrived the same evening in Barcelona. It was too late to catch a plane, so we spent the night at the cheap pension in Barcelona. We were both very tired, but before dozing off to sleep, I could feel Anne's hand touching mine softly, and it felt like waves of warm energy flowing through my whole body. End of chapter 8, and I hope to soon have an occasion to read you the continuation, which is chapter 9. Wish you a nice time in the meantime. Bye.